We're live.
We're live. Hi there. Welcome on board. Another episode of Chew on This is now, right?
Absolutely. It's 1 p.m., just a couple of minutes after.
Yes,
And
we're doing the Miami time. If you didn't know, because we're both based in Miami with Vlada, so we learned how to live the Miami time.
it's impossible. I give up on that. I'm not gonna comply. And I'm always the one showing up on time, and everyone is saying,
Hating you.
Did you move from New York? What's wrong with you?"
Right. Well, this is true. This is how you kind of make your first impression, and I think that's a perfect introduction to what we are going to talk about today, right? How to
Yes.
make the first impression when you network or just like when you meet someone for the first time. So, Vlada, this is your way to make a first impression. You just show up on time in Miami when people are just like, they're just like setting up the scene, right? They're setting up the tables and
Mhm.
chairs.
He's like, "Oh, you're too early." I was like, "No, that was the time." But yeah, exactly. And I think that's a great segue into today's topic. Obviously, a lot of folks I find are dreading networking events, right? Or dreading
A lot.
in general, sort of meeting new people, um, and yet,
It's hard.
especially it's hard, but especially if you're an entrepreneur and immigrant entrepreneur or moving into new industry, it's a critical skill, right? There is no way to build a business without building your network. And
I can say that, because my background, I teach, we teach English and soft skills. So of course, like we also teach the importance of networking and presenting yourself. But like I knew this even before I've moved to the United States full time. But like I had been traveling back and forth Ukraine and actually New York. I was on time too before I moved to Miami. I used to be on time. So yeah, so and of course I attended all the time these networking events, but only when I moved full time and I realized that networking in the American culture is more important than I could possibly imagine.
Mhm.
And like I'm pretty sure the international founders and the professionals that are watching us here, so this is a tip, guys, it's more important than you can imagine. So that's why you have to really double down on your networking game. And there are certain things that you have to know to scale your networking skills, right?
Yeah.
And this is something
And
that
but
we want to
but
talk
but
about.
going back to the term, so I think for me the term networking is something I don't love, right? What I do love is meeting and getting to know people, right? And so I think for me it's important. So whatever it is for you, right? And that allows you to remove that limiting belief, call it whatever whatever you want, right? The outcome has to be, just having more valuable connections, because there is actually a lot of research that suggests that not only it's good for business, but it's actually great for your happiness and overall well-being, those meaningful relationships you can establish with others.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know what you mean. Like when people say like networking, they imagine this like crowded premises where you have like there's like a tons of unknown people, and you just have to overcome this barrier of like confidence and and just to come to the person and start speaking. That's the hardest, and I would like to talk about that actually,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's what scares people, and this is why they dread networking, and this is why they're hating on the term too, right? That's the how do you approach a person you don't know? How do you like? What do you say? Like, how do you start the conversation? So, Vlada, what's your
Yeah,
go-to
I agree
strategy
with you.
here?
And I think like everything else, right? It comes with reps. The more networking events you go to, the more you try different approaches, the better you become, right? So when I started going to networking events, I remember just looking for another single person standing there, not being in a conversation. So I wasn't intruding or disrupting and just latching onto them. Right. And that's, because I lack that confidence to actually walk into the room, look around and say, okay, who am I looking to meet? Right. And just, and of course, people don't come with the, something in their head that tells you that somehow that connection would be relevant or promising. But I think if you walk
It's a
in with
start.
it's a start, right? And I think a lot of events have name tags or roles or different colors and whatnot, and so that also helps. But so what I do now is I force myself not to jump in. Actually, uh,
What do you
be,
mean? Like jump in, like
no,
start
jump into
introducing
the first
yourself?
person, right? To the first
Oh,
person I
you read
meet,
the
right?
room first. You read the
Hmm.
room.
Read the room. And that took me quite some time, right? Because
How do you do
again,
this? How do you read the room?
you just look around and you see, how other people are speaking, how they're presenting themselves. You kind of observe, right? You observe and say, oh, that person is really interesting, not because this is a lonely person standing next to me. Maybe they're like on the other side of the room, but they seem interesting to me. They're having this engaged conversation, or maybe I've seen them somewhere before and haven't introduced myself, right? So I look around and say, who am I interested in meeting, right? So I allow myself some space, but also I think because I've over and over developed the confidence that makes me feel comfortable standing by myself and just reading that room, as opposed to getting into the first conversation I can possibly find, right?
I also think that with the reps and practice, like you said, you also develop this sense of intuition that you can leverage in this moment because you no longer feel super anxious, right? To jump into like just get it over. Let's just get
Right,
it over
exactly.
with,
Get it
right?
over with. Just like, yeah, do it. One,
Yeah,
two,
like let's
three,
just get it
go.
over with. I'm gonna like run to this first person and start speaking. And I think that because you're calmer, you can finally use your intuition.
Right,
And I believe that intuition is key in everything you do. And a lot of times people think that intuition is something more intimate and personal, but in business it's everything, right?
right,
It's everything, and you have to develop that intuition, the business intuition, or in our case, right, it's networking intuition.
right,
So technically, the way I like when you were talking about this, the way I imagined like you standing in the room and like you giving yourself a few minutes, looking around and just like listening to what your gut is telling you. Okay, this is
right.
the person I want to approach and start the conversation with.
Absolutely. And then, I think my general philosophy about meeting people is being interested as opposed to interesting, right? And I think at the end of the day, we're all love the sound of our voice more than anything else. So if you actually want to have a memorable connection with someone, make them talk, right? And so and and you learn something, right? Because when I'm talking, I can only learn from myself. Well, thankfully here I have Anna, so I'm learning from Anna here. But um, that I think is the foundation, right? So starting to from a question, right? And I know some people are very creative with. I know you recently told me about some examples that weird weird questions people ask, but I think even saying, "Hey, is it your first time at this event?" or "Hey, are you coming from Miami? Or you're traveling from abroad?" Right? You don't have to ask something crazy, right? It has to be organic and natural to the event. Or if the event is too crowded, you can say, oh my god, like, do you feel that it's hot here? And so that already kind of something you have in common.
Yeah, absolutely. Weird questions. Yeah, that was kind of a joke, but I think sometimes you can do this. It depends on the purpose of the event, right? So you know that I was running the Web3 community here in Miami, and we organized events that were like also networking, like knowledge sharing events every month. Like every first Tuesday of the month, we had an event, and we tried to come up with some interesting icebreakers for
Hmm.
people to um, make it easier for people to meet each other, right?
Right.
So I remember one time I actually prepared this a bingo game where, I came up with questions that were relevant to the topic. I mean, relevant to our community, like around Web3 and AI, some tech questions. And I created this bingo cards where people had to, talk to other person and ask them the questions, and then, mark the answers and things like that. That was pretty cool. Everyone loved it. So yeah, and like, I could throw in some like crazy questions like,
Right.
would you rather do this or that? Would you rather game is a really popular game in the United States, I guess. But yeah, it depends on the event. It depends who you're speaking with. But generally, I agree with you. Just approaching the person and starting a conversation with something that you can see and you can comment on in the moment. I
Right.
feel like this is the easiest one. And and this is kind of another, like, we touch here on the topic of small talk, right? Making small talk. What do you make small talk? This is the easiest, right? So you just make small talk about something that you see. For example, if we were in a meeting with you and this was like our first meeting, we had to make small talk and break the ice. You would definitely make comment about the pictures that you see behind me, and like, that's how you could start a conversation, and then you can move on. So technically you make a comment about something that near dear to me, may, like, I painted those,
Right.
and then you move on. And like you said, we love the sound of our voice. Maybe some people don't if they don't speak a lot, right? This comes with practice too. But generally, yes, people are selfish. That's why we don't even notice how we end up talking about ourselves more than about other people. And that's really important to remember, because if you want to come across and if you want to be as an effective communicator, you have to be interested in them, right? In
100%.
them. So like asking them questions, and you'll be surprised, because when I did this, when I was like asking people questions, I could see they are genuinely surprised, like, oh my God, I'm like so important. This person is interested in me,
Right.
So, and also it works the other way. If you when, like, when you have a conversation, if the other person is asking you questions, two things: they either know about this trick, right, that they have to be more interested in another person, or they like, and they are genuinely
Mm.
interested in you. So you can be like, okay, this is something that I want to, I want to continue this conversation. So
Absolutely. All right. So, in the Chew on This tradition, we're going to go through a lightning round of advice, right? So, our best tips, fast pace. So, I can go first so you can think of one. I think the easiest way to build relationships is to be a connector. So when you're talking to someone in and they tell you, "Hey, I'm looking for, graphic designers," and then you're like, "Oh, I know a graphic designer. Can you send me a message? I'll connect you," right? Or maybe they're looking for some partners or something like that, because then you're creating value for two people, so you get two for one. Your turn.
yeah, so being a connector, I love this, and thank you for reminding me, Vlada. I might ask you for some introductions.
Good, good.
Yeah, I so my tip is the following: get prepare your personal elevator pitch, because when you break the ice, and then when you hear the question, so tell me what you do, right, or what do you do for a living, or tell me what you do, and then you're stuck. You don't want to be stuck here. Instead, you want to have, I would say, three sentences ready, just to give them a quick pitch of what you do, and then get them interested, and then wait for follow-up questions, right? And here is my formula for you. So when they ask you what you do, first you say what you do, right? For example, you can say, I'm a software engineer at such and such company. I'm a software engineer. I don't know. You might not even say the company, but then what I recommend saying, I recommend saying how you help people, or how you help businesses, or how you help companies, projects, and teams, etc. So you can say, I help businesses, I don't know, scale, improve their revenue streams and things like that, right? So you really, instead of just saying what you do, just one sentence, it sounds passive aggressive, by the way. I think if you're like, so what do you do? I'm a software engineer and that nothing else, right? And like
Silence.
and the silence and like it's like you given this signal that I don't want to talk to you. So never answer the question, what do you do? With the one sentence. But I find this like follow up sentences, I help
Mhm.
somebody do something so that they can achieve their goals, dreams, etc. And this helps you to uncover, right, unbox, right, to uncover your potential and
Right.
also find connections, right? Because when you say that I help businesses, I might be this business that needs help, and
Mhm.
here like you're given a hook, right? You're given a hook for further conversation and further discussion. So actually this is not even three sentences, two sentences, what you do and how you help. And one more thing here, when you prepare your personal elevator pitch, make sure you are not giving too much. Because, of course, in 2024, everyone wears too many hats, right? If you ask me to give me my bio, I'm going to tell you I'm a founder, I'm an educator, social media influencer, I'm a community builder, I'm this and that and everything, which is great. Yeah, it just shows my diverse personality. But when I want to introduce myself, I don't want to overload people with this information. So depending on the event or depending on the situation, depending on who I'm speaking with, I am going to stick to like one thing primarily, like one primary thing, and then in the conversation I can throw in like other things that I do. So it's important, like you said earlier, right? Like we love the ourselves so much, like we just want to throw everything in there, but the other person might not appreciate it. They might like feel overloaded with this. That's
Yeah,
my
awesome. This is excellent advice, Anna. And I think anyone who is dreading, you know, your introduction is probably because you haven't repeated it 100 times. And
write it
that's
down, just write
right
like follow my formula, write it down. And again, you don't have to it's not like you have to have just one thing. I always recommend our learners at English for IT, we have this topic, I teach this subject at English for IT. Like you can have several, right? You can be a software engineer, but your I help may vary, like may change depending on who your target audience is, whether you are pitching yourself to a recruiter, an HR, a manager, or I don't know, just like a random person in a networking event and you just want to be more
right.
vague. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just following up on Anna's great advice, I think it comes down to being specific, right? Because if you have, it has to be short but specific, right? So, for example, if I say, I help immigrant entrepreneurs scale their businesses in the United States, they're like, oh, I'm an immigrant entrepreneur, or I know an immigrant entrepreneur, right? And so that helps immediately create value and opportunities for connection. I just wanted to leave it with follow up, right? There is a lot of action that can happen. Let's say you mastered your pitch, you got the confidence to approach the right people, and then you don't want that to die in that networking room or
Yes.
whatever that is. So follow up is really key. And that means that you need to connect with that person, right? Exchange contact information, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever, depending on the type of audience, depending on the type of event. And then, of course, follow up. And what I typically do is when I meet someone, I would even write notes in our joint chat about introduce this, and this, right? Like there. So, and then I will follow up on that later. So
Do you
it's
take
already,
pictures? Do you take selfies with these
I do
people?
not, but a lot of people, yes, I have a
I
lot of
like
selfies
it.
now out there. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I don't.
It's
I mean, look, I don't recommend doing this. This is an ick for me. I like, I just met you. We had a conversation for about 3 minutes, and you pulling up your phone and you want to make a selfie with me. Like, no. What if I don't like the selfie and it's gonna stay in our chat? And what? Like, I might never see you again. No,
right,
I would not recommend this. This is
right.
like too ballsy, I guess.
um, super. Well, I think it was a action-packed chew on this, and I'm sure you guys had an opportunity to pick out some ideas and some tips. In fact, today I'm going to a networking event, so that was a good brush up for me, and maybe Anna is too.
Yes, I am thinking about going to the event as well. So that was a great,
So
you
I'll
know.
watch your game. I'll watch your game.
Oh my God, oh my God. I'm gonna be under the radar. Yeah. But
Fantastic.
I would love to encourage our audience to share their elevator pitches in the comments
Yeah.
to this video. So like I said, just two sentences, what you do and how you can help. How you can help me, Vlada, people in general, businesses, or whatever audience you have in mind. So just let's practice. Let it be your first rep. Share your pitch in the comments, and Vlada and Vlada, do you mind giving feedback on the comments?
No, no, that would be amazing. I would love that. And plus, it's I know we have a growing audience, a lot of comments. By the way, I had a lot of comments from our last video when we were debating. So I guess we'll need to pick more topics where we might
People
disagree.
love
And
fighting. Yes, I'm totally down. Like I'm totally down. Let's do the fight club here. The
we
verbal.
agree on too many things, but we need to find those that we
We need to,
disagree.
well, like that's the thing. I think we just have to take turns and
Argue
present the
differently,
arguments that
right?
like we do not support, but just for the show's sake. Can we do it for the show's sake?
Everything for the
We can do
show.
it for the show's sake, and like just take turns, and because I sorry to like I don't know, I want to tell the story, but 3 years ago I was invited to be on a show actually with another entrepreneur. So it was like a show organized by Accenture, and they would like have 5 topics and 10 entrepreneurs debating. And we had, of course, like my topic was around workforce development, what I was doing, and the other founder was also in workforce development. And the topic was very interesting. I don't remember the topic, but I remember that if you were debating like for the topic, you're the winner. Against, you're the loser, because it was like so obvious that there are no arguments against. Well, anyway, we had to agree with this founder who's gonna take the side, which side we're taking. The founder was so stubborn; he wouldn't like want to like compromise on anything. I'm like, okay, fine, you can But anyway, I lost obviously, but that was interesting. So we can do the same thing, we can pick the
Who
disadvantageous
wins and
position.
who loses? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah, but we like our audience has to promise to
To
attend
vote,
these
to vote.
shows to vote. Yes, exactly. Because like if I'm gonna lose, I want to know that I lost because of the voting.
I know. So we can have our own debate club here. That's
Absolutely,
fun.
let's do it, Vlada. So we
Yes.
announced the topic for the next show
Next.
early next week, and yeah, let's roll.
Yes, absolutely. Great, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Thursday. And it will be a debate. Game
Yes.
is on.
Vlada, have a great day. Bye.